Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us in this 10-part series on character formation. And today we're going to talk about the ripple effect, how character culture spreads beyond the classroom. For those of you who may not have attended any of my sessions in the past, my name is Mann Rentoy. I have been a teacher for more than 30 years and I served as principal of Intermediate School of South Ridge for many years. I started a school in Iloilo City called Westbridge School, and then I also taught in the University of Asia in the Pacific. And but the last 12 years, the last 13 years, I've been spending more time reaching out to teachers, community leaders, and parents to make character formation a top priority. And we're going to discuss later why. Why there is a need, in fact, to make character formation a top priority. Okay, well, I guess being the first of 10 sessions, it's good to start our session with a prayer entrusting to our Lord, to God, to Our Lady, all the students that will be entrusted to our care in this new school year that we are preparing for. And we ask our Lord to give us the grace so that we be effective instruments, not just in teaching a subject, but especially in forming character, molding minds, helping young people to grow up to be good men and women of character, because this is where the crisis is. And we ask God to help us so that we are effective in this project of making character a top priority so that we see our students grow up to be good men and women, wonderful children of God who are going to make a big difference in the world that is in bad shape today. All these we ask through Christ our Lord. Okay, thank you again. The others may just be trying to get in, but we expect some more to come in. But I think some will be catching the recording. You're going to be given the link to the recording by tonight or tomorrow after we process the video. Okay, let's see. I need to get you engaged. And so let's start first with a little exercise. Please type in the chat box, especially if those of you who are following it from a computer, the ripple. What does ripple, the word ripple, make you think of? Please type in the chat box what are words that you associate with the word ripple, or what comes to your mind whenever you are told the word ripple. Okay, see, Irene Grace said it's domino effect, precisely. Waves, Maro said. What else? Influence, perfect, exactly. Um, Another word related to influence may be impact. Whatever you do has an impact on other people. Kyle said consequences. Any action that we do has a consequence. Consequence that may either be good or bad, positive or negative. There really is no such thing as practically neutral action. Small fluctuations, according to Caressa, chain reaction, very good from Ma'am Sheila. Okay, so these are words that come to our mind when we are told ripples, effects, impact, influence, chain reaction, consequences. One thing leads to another. Like a pebble that you throw into the lake, it first creates one circle and then another, and then another. And before you know it, the whole lake may have moved. That is ripple. And that is what a teacher does. That's what we, educators, teachers, actually do. We create impact. And here's the thing, the impact we have on our students is not just in the 10 months that they are inside our classroom. Let me repeat that. The impact, the influence, the consequence that we create on our students is not just limited to the 10 months that we teach them, whatever subject you're handling, math, English, science, uh, Filipino, whatever subject we're teaching has an impact on the students. And it's not just in the 10 months that they are inside our classroom. Some of the things we do inside the classroom may have an impact on their lives for the rest of their life. Some of us maybe decided to become a teacher because of one teacher or another who made an impact in our lives. Think about it. Some of us decided to go for teaching because when we were grade 2, grade 4, we were influenced by this spectacular teacher. We were inspired. We were motivated. But sadly, the good things that we may have an impact on the students, there may also be negative things. For example, I know some students who have become so negative, so pessimistic because of one teacher or another who made them that way. The question we ask ourselves now is, as we prepare for the new school year, what kind of impact do we want to have on our students? Well, I hope it's an impact of character, that because we are going to teach for character, our students will become not just experts in math, in science, in English, in whatever subject that we're going to teach, but especially that they're going to be good, that they're going to have virtues, that they're going to have values. Character formation is not a solo act. It is a shared song. Every value you plant echoes far beyond your lesson plan. Here are 5 reasons why we, teachers, educators, pastors, um, parents, must make character formation a top priority now more than ever. Here are 5. Number 1, my dear fellow teachers, we do not need a survey, a study, a research, a dissertation to know, to admit that really the moral vacuum is real and it's growing. Think about it. Many students today are growing up without strong moral anchors. Many of them are facing confused values. All you need to do is go to primetime news, 24 Oras, TV Patrol, One News PH. All you have to do is look at the headlines of the day and you can see, ay, may confusion in values, in virtues, in principles. Those of you who, like me, have been in the teaching profession for decades, alam nyo to, mas marami tayo ngayong estudyante na pumapasok sa classroom natin and they come from broken families, broken homes. We know it is a reality. It is happening everywhere. Or maybe hindi broken families, but wala yung tatay, wala yung nanay, absentee parents. Not because nag-separate, but because The dad is working in Dubai, in Hong Kong, in Italy. Yeah, absentee parents. What else? We are seeing an online chaos. Online, there is so much chaos, so much anger, so much hatred, so much bashing left and right. It has become almost like a culture that every so often you have somebody being bashed. And then, of course, what we know of the digital generation, a culture of instant gratification. This is a reality. These are the things that we see in the world today. There is that moral vacuum, and it's growing. Three wake up calls, my dear fellow teachers. Many times, tayo, teachers, are the last line of defense. Because, as I mentioned, you have now more situations where the parents are absent, or maybe they're not absent, but they are um, morally, spiritually absent because they are working very hard to provide for the family. So they take words, they take works abroad, they take employment somewhere else, or they are just too busy, too tied down, trying to earn, to make a living, to make a comfortable life for the family. I mean, we're not taking it against the OFWs. They are ang ating mga bagong bayani. And alam ko halos lahat sila, they are doing that as a big sacrifice out of love for their family, precisely, because they want a better life, a more comfortable life for their families. So, where now are the students, the young kids, going to learn values if the parents are not there, if the parents are absent, if they are not, if they don't have time to form their children? That's why that's a wake up call for you and me, dear teachers. Sometimes, often, we are the last line of defense. Here's the second thing. Kung hindi mo tuturuan ng values and virtues, sino? TikTok. TikTok is the one that's educating children in values, in virtues, in character. And I tell you, TikTok is not a very good teacher. It is a bad influence, in fact, because it is there where people spread fake news, distortion of truths, distortion of morals, and the revision of history. Historical revisionism has been successful lately thanks to the spread of fake news, fake things um, in social media. When I say TikTok here, you can also include Instagram, Twitter, X, Facebook, social media. And our Filipino kids, according to research, are among the most immersed in social media, spending inordinate, that's the adjective, inordinate amount of time. Ibig sabihin, sobra. Ang oras na kanilang ginugugol sa panonood sa TikTok, sa Facebook Reels, sa YouTube, sa Instagram videos. And here's the third wake-up call. Character education, therefore, has become far more urgent than ever. And this is the reason why we are doing this series of 10 sessions, all on character formation inside the classroom, because when we give them character formation, we are not just giving the students a compass, we're giving them a compass, not just a map. This is the ripple effect of our profession. We make an impact in their lives, not just in the 10 months they're inside our classroom, but if we teach for character, if we make sure that we form our students in values, in virtues, then we have them for the rest of their life. that they're going to grow up to be good men and women, men and women of character, not just um, geniuses in math, in science, in English, in Filipino, in social studies, or whatever subject you're teaching. I will even include PE, varsity teams. That's why meron tayong session on coaching for the coaches and those who are in charge of clubs and organizations. And we're going to talk about those because education without values, as useful as it is, seems rather to make man a more clever devil. Okay, so then, second, second reason why we need to make character formation a top priority because character shapes the climate of the school. Virtues like respect, responsibility, empathy, perseverance, they reduce discipline issues. They foster cooperation and they enable real learning. No amount of pedagogy can fix a class where basic human decency is missing. Teachers' character formation is not an add on, it's not an optional thing. It is the very foundation of behavior and belonging. And these are the things we should be teaching inside our classroom. I'll tell you already the number one strategy. There are many strategies to teach for character so that we make a ripple effect on our students, on the community, in the world. But here's the most effective strategy to do the powerful example of your life, of our life. Students will learn respect in the way we show them respect. Students are going to learn professionalism in the way you and I come inside the classroom every single day like a good professional, dressed properly, talking like a professional with excellence. These are learned by our example, by the students because of our example. You see, the kahit ang subject mo ay Filipino, the way you come to class every single day punctually is teaching them the importance of punctuality, the example of our life. In the way we make sure we do not yell, shout, scream, insult, hurt, or harm our students, but we treat them with a lot of respect and kindness. The students are learning respect and kindness, even if your subject is science, math, chemistry, social studies. They are learning those virtues and values from our example. And then that character, that virtue, that value, those are the things that will start shaping ano ang climate sa ating paaralan, sa ating eskwelahan, sa ating classroom. This is second reason why now more than ever, character formation is a very important concern, very important reason why we have to make sure it is our top priority. And number three, the world needs not just skilled workers, but good people. Again, all you need to do is look at the headlines of the day. Hindi natin kailangan ng mga matatalinong tao. Ang kailangan natin, mga mababait na tao. Mga mababait na public servants, government officials, businessmen who have conscience, who will not exploit the poor. Our students will become professionals, voters, parents, and leaders. We want them to be good professionals, good voters, good parents, and good leaders. We don't need them to be geniuses. Ano ang gamit natin sa isang math wizard, expert in math, pero magnanakaw, mandarambong, dishonest, cheater? Ano ang kailangan natin sa isang genius sa computer, pero walang empathy, walang, parang walang pakiramdam para sa ibang tao? So we are not just forming brains, we're forming citizens and souls. The Philippines, you and I know, the Philippines needs ethical graduates, not just employable ones. That's why character formation has got to be a top priority. Number 4, uhaw na uhaw ang ating mga estudyante for good role models. Teachers, ang celebrities, ang athletes, ang mga sikat na tao, ang mga politicians na binoto ng milyon-milyong tao, ng milyon-milyong voters, they are not exactly the perfect role models we want to present to students, to the children, to the young kids. They're starving for good role models, especially because we are living in a world that has a digital overload, uh, morally confused, um, social media. In this age, students crave authenticity and moral clarity. And you and I, as teachers, have an amplified influence. That's a very important phrase. We have an amplified influence, not because of what we teach, science, English, math, but because of who we are. We have a ripple effect on our students just because of our being the example of our life. One teacher's example can outweigh years of negative home or media influence. Sabi ng mga estudyante, I just want to see someone who actually walks the talk. We have got to be the role models that the students are craving for, hungry for, or that they don't see in the teleseries, in the movies, in media, in social media. Finally, number 5, the reason why we have to make character formation a top priority precisely is the very essence of our presentation today, the ripple effect of our work, of what our profession makes us do. Character is contagious. Forming one child transforms a family, transforms a school, transforms a whole society and the whole world. When a teacher plants values, that teacher does not just shape this year's students. They are shaping future parents, because those children in your classroom now are someday going to be parents, are someday going to be workers, are someday going to be leaders. Paano mo gagawin ang pagtuturo mo kung sinabi ko sa'yo, dyan sa loob ng classroom mo is the future senator, the future congressman, the future president of the Philippines? Anong gagawin mo? Kung halimbawa, by virtue of, I don't know, crystal ball, biglang nalaman mo na nandyan sa loob ng classroom mo is someone who is going to be the future senator, a future congressman, or the future president of the Philippines. What will you do? I know what you'll do. You're not going to say, I'm sure you're not going to say, uy, andito pala ang future president of the Philippines. I have to give more assignment. I have to give more drills. I have to give more exercises. Of course not. I know what you will do. If you, by chance of, I don't know, special gift, nalaman mo na ang estudyante mo dyan, one of your students is going to be the future president of the Philippines. I know what you're going to do. You are going to make sure that every single opportunity you can have to talk about honesty, uprightness, generosity, goodness, kindness, sincerity, truthfulness, you will take advantage of. In other words, you will teach for character. In other words, you will emphasize always at all times that you can get virtues and being a good person. Kasi alam mo na you are preparing the future president of the Philippines. Well, my dear fellow teachers, I don't need to give you the gift of prophecy. We don't need a crystal ball. Teach like as if you and I are preparing the future president of the country. Because what we do inside the classroom today has a ripple effect that multiplies. And that's that, you see, we are preparing a legacy, not just a lesson, because we are preparing our students to be good men and women, good leaders, good workers, good voters who will vote not on the basis of popularity, but on the basis of ito ang mabuting tao. Siya ang iboto natin. That kind. So then, let's talk about really making a ripple. Let's start first with a very obvious people we have an effect on, our students. This is part one. And then we will talk about our colleagues, and then the parents and family, and then the culture of the school. So here's a very important idea. The classroom is ground zero of culture building. What students experience becomes what they carry into the world. Okay? So don't just think, I mean, if you've attended any of my seminars in the past, you would have heard me say this again and again and again. We are not just teaching a subject, we are forming children. In fact, one of the seminars I gave in the past is entitled that, Stop Teaching Subjects and Start Teaching Children. We are not just covering a curriculum, finishing a textbook. You see, the success of a teacher does not consist in simply being able to say, ay, napakagaling kong teacher. Natapos ko ang textbook. That's nice. But that is not the goal, the objective of a good educator. A good educator's success is to be able to say, ang galing kong teacher. My students are better human beings because I taught them math and I showed them with my example what it means to be upright, to be honest, to be good, to be kind, to be responsible, to be caring, to be a professional. You see, we are not just preparing our students to pass a quiz, to pass a test, to pass a subject. We're preparing them to pass the test of life. That is how important our profession is. Here are 5 classroom practices that can start ripples. Well, I gave you already the most important one, the powerful example of our life. But we can do more. We can do more so that we really create ripples in the lives of our students inside the classroom. Why not have a visible virtues wall? Post in your bulletin board inside the classroom, um, virtues like respect, grit, kindness, responsibility. Many schools do this already. They have what they call VOM, Virtue of the Month. Every month, there is a virtue that school-wide you emphasize. You put it in a poster. You put quotations that when students read it, they are inspired. That every teacher um, makes it a point to incorporate into their lesson plan. That it becomes really a visible thing. And students, uuwi sila ng bahay na iniisip, ang teacher ko, um, parang lagi na lang ang importante sa kanya is virtues and values. Abay, mabuti yan. And that is what they will remember us for. I tell you, they will forget that subject matter you teach. They will forget maybe the um, chemistry formulas you made them memorize, especially if they will choose a profession that has nothing to do with that subject we teach. But yes, they will remember for a long time and maybe for the rest of their life how this teacher emphasized truthfulness, sincerity, honesty, no cheating. They will remember for the rest of their life that it is important to be kind, to be caring, to be courteous, not to bully, because my teacher emphasized it. And I read it all over the campus. It's visible. Here's another way that we can make a real ripple in the lives of our students. Weekly character shout outs. You know, recognizing publicly virtues, small acts that display virtues. John, thank you so much for cleaning your area, even if I didn't tell you to. That's responsibility. That's um, what it means to be responsible. Joey, I saw you lending a ball pen to Joanna. Good job. That's being kind, caring. Keep it up. Shout outs that emphasize character, virtues. And the students will realize, wow, this teacher really gives premium to virtues, um, kindness, character. Here's another one, role model moments. Every now and then, every so often, share 2-minute stories, for example, from your life that show character, or that news report that you read about a certain senator or congressman or mayor or governor who did really a great job, a good thing. And mind you, there are some. Unfortunately, minsan talagang kailangan halungkatin mo yung dyaryo para makakita ng mga ganong klaseng kwento. But there are, well, I keep on going back to headlines of the day, politicians, government officials. I need to let you know, and I always say this when I'm talking to young people, politics is not evil. It's evil people who make it dirty. We need good people in politics. We need good men, good women in public service to be government officials. And that's why we have to encourage our students who have leadership qualities, who have the possibilities, who have the potential to be good politicians, to be good public servants. We have to encourage them and make them see that we need good men and women there. Politics is not sinful, it's not evil. It's the evil people who make it so. We have to replace those bad people with good ones. That's why it's good to talk about role models, that there are some, I mean, that if you have a government official who is really upright and sincere and good and honest, he or she can really make a big difference. Unfortunately, as I said, minsan kailangang halongkatin mo yung headlines. Minsan hindi mo makikita sa headlines. Makikita mo dun sa back page about one public servant or another who does a great job, who really is uplifting lives of the poor people who are real role models. We have to help the young people find them, look at them, and emulate them. Dahil sabi ni Jose Rizal, ang tunay na kayamanan ng tao ay ang kanyang pagkatao. Goodness, character. That is what makes a person really a man of value, a woman of value. Number 4, we have to provide, if we are to make a ripple, to influence, to impact the lives of our students, we need to create emotionally safe environment, especially because we are living in a world right now where you have students who are prone, inclined to depression, hypersensitive. Minsan tawag nga ng researchers, snowflake generation. Well, not all of them. I've seen young people who are amazing, who have character, and I really admire the work done by the parents and by their teachers for making them so, making them that way. Our classroom has to be a safe space for our students emotionally. That's why when you read about students who get into depression, teens who commit suicide, which is a growing pandemic. I mean, this is really something you and I cannot sweep under the rug. Kailangan pag-usapan. Kailangan pag-usapan among the faculty. In the faculty meetings, we should be talking about how to make sure that our students do not get into depression, do not even consider suicide as an option. That when students come to our school, to our classroom, they know they have people they can run to, they can talk to, who will listen to them. Walang kinalaman yan sa subject. Walang kinalaman yan sa syllabus, sa curriculum. You see, sabi ng researchers, students come into our classroom, they are not concerned about factoring, subject-verb agreement, chemical bonds. Many of our students come inside our classroom and the top of their concerns include, why did my parents separate? Why are we in this financial problems, trouble in the house? Why does my dad have to leave for abroad to work? Those are the things that are on top of the mind of our students when they come inside our classroom. Nandun sa baba, very bottom of the list is yung ano kaya ang subject na pag-uusapan namin ngayon? Ano na kaya ang lesson next? Ano na kaya ang quiz, ang test? They are living, sabi nga ng Facebook, it's complicated. They're living a complicated life, really. So, we have to make sure our classroom is a safe environment for them. If we are to create ripples, if we are to impact them in their lives, in their values, in their virtues, in their character. Here's how you can make sure we create ripples among our students. Make class routines with values. Especially, for example, those of you who may be teaching in the lower grades, elementary, kinder, preschool. Make sure you talk to them about kindness, courtesy, that you greet good morning, that you say thank you, that you use words like please. Please open the book to page. Please be seated. Please stand by your desk. Please raise your hand. Please. Dapat umuulan ng please sa loob ng classroom. to the point that the students hear it 125 times in a day. They go home using the word please because it has become part of their system. It has become part of the class routines, and it becomes part of their values. The way we teach them to greet with courtesy, to use words like po and opo when they're talking to adults, that they deal with those staff, janitors, maintenance men, ladies in the cafeteria with kindness, with courtesy, with respect, regardless of their position in the school, in life. Those are routines that we teach our students that make them acquire values. For example, routine like, okay, class, last 1 minute, let's clean up the room, pick up the trash on the floor, align the desks, because this is what it means to have order, to have cleanliness. It's a class routine, and they learn order, cleanliness, etc. They learn piety because we start and end our class with a prayer. They learn how to have fear of God, how to have respect for the divine. All these are part of building values, and that's how we create ripples in the lives of our students. A good teacher is like a candle, it consumes itself to light the way for others. Again, this has nothing to do with curriculum, syllabus, unit plans, performance tasks. This is all about creating a ripple in the lives of our students through the powerful example of our life and in the way we deal with them, we treat them. Let's pause a bit. I've been talking for 40 minutes. Think of a teacher in your life who shaped your life, not because they taught well, but because simply they were good. They treated you with kindness, with respect. And we realize, gusto ko yun. Gusto ko rin ganun ang impact ko sa aking mga estudyante. Not just because I teach well, but that too will follow because that's professionalism, that's excellence, that is being a good worker, but especially because of the values and the virtues I pass on to them. Let's proceed. Part 2, ripple to teachers and staff. Remember, a pebble thrown into the lake, and it creates a circle, and then a wider circle, and a wider circle. We impact the lives of our students, but we too impact other teachers in our faculty, in our school. Okay? Your personal integrity and shared virtue create what we call the unwritten curriculum among colleagues. Here are 7 ways to ripple among teachers so that we make sure that we are able to really impact the lives of those people around us, including our colleagues. Sabi ni C.S. Lewis, integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. But many times, our colleagues, our co-teachers, our supervisor, principal are there. They're all around us. But even if they're not watching us, they can trust us that we are not wasting time in the faculty room going to nba.com. That has nothing to do with our curriculum, that has nothing to do with our assignment, and that we are using school property, school time that we are being paid for entertainment and for other things that have nothing to do with our personal growth, with our professionalism. 7 ways that we create ripples. Here's the first one. Make it a habit to have daily good news huddles. Like starting faculty meetings with gratitude. or sharing good news. Because nowadays, and in these days, if you don't share good news, then all you will be talking about are what is happening in the Senate, what is happening in Congress, what is happening in the world, the wars that are raging in different countries, the bad news we hear about I just came back yesterday from the US, and when I was there in Los Angeles, that was 24 hours news, the riots, the unrest, the that are happening in Los Angeles of people burning the police cars, uh, protesting the immigration. I mean, some immigrants being deported, and it's absurd. And I worry especially about the young people who pagbukas nila ng television, pagbukas nila ng radyo, these are the bad news that they read about, they hear about. We need more sharing of good news. We need, for example, here's another very beautiful way of creating ripples among our colleagues in the faculty. We have to model, we have to create a model apology culture. You know, we have to normalize admitting mistakes among faculty, among teachers, among adults. I mean, that there's nothing wrong with saying, sorry, I forgot about this. Sorry, I failed to announce this. Sorry, I did not get to remind you. We have to normalize that. And there's nothing special about admitting mistakes. That it is, in fact, the right thing to do, not to cover up. Then we create ripples among our colleagues. Here's another way: culture champions. Assign a teacher, for example, a strategy. Assign a teacher every week to celebrate someone's good deed, complimenting another teacher for good deed done, or for living in an exceptional way, a virtue or a value. That's a very important thing. Students should see that, wow, these teachers really value character, that they really give premium to goodness. Here's another strategy: creating ripples in the faculty among our colleagues. Birthday virtue cards. You know that on your birthday, you can expect your colleagues, your principal, your supervisors to give you a card highlighting uh, one virtue or another that you live, and you look forward to it. Ano kaya ang um, value virtue that my colleagues value more or appreciate most about me? That is creating ripples. Here's another one: shared book club on values. You know, um, in your faculty meeting, just 2 minutes, let somebody talk about a book that he would highly encourage others to read because he found a lot of values. Tuesdays with Maury, and then let him talk for 2 minutes about why it's interesting, why it's worth reading. Uh, Seven Habits by Stephen Covey, Grit by Angela Duckworth, whatever it is, but especially highlighting one virtue or another. And 2 minutes in a faculty meeting, that's far more um, worth the time than yung nangyayari minsan sa faculty meetings. Babasahin lang yung memo na in-email naman na. But we're wasting time. You already sent that as an email to us. Why do you need to read it again in the faculty meeting? It's a waste of time. I'd rather have this. kind of a faculty, a teacher recommending one book or another, a movie that is powerful in teaching one value or another, that is far more worth my time than uh, reading of memos that have already been emailed. Common language, phrases that teachers use, and everyone understands it because it is frequently used. Very generous of you. What a fair decision that was. Y- that even in our common expressions, in our everyday language, may values, virtues na lumalabas. Rituals that reinforce culture. This is the seventh, this is the last possible way that you can create ripples in the faculty. For example, monthly mission moment. Yeah, in faculty meetings, where you go back to the mission vision of the school. You go back to one or one of the core values of the school in order to reinforce it. And you make it a point that in every faculty meeting, there is always going back to that, our mission, our vision, what we stand for as a school, what values we really highly emphasize. Let's go. There are two more parts. Ripple to parents and families. We can create ripples in character formation with our parents and with families, because when the character language moves from school to home, students see coherence. And that's very powerful. Here are 5 family engagement ideas. Sabi ko kanina, many schools already do this. VOM, Virtue of the Month. Well, don't stop there. Don't just talk about Virtue of the Month in among your students. Send out an email, a memo, a newsletter, a digital newsletter, so you don't have to spend on printing, highlighting the virtue of the month. For example, giving parents ideas on how they can also live the virtue of the month at home, or stories and practical tips that parents will appreciate related to the virtue of the month. Parents should be able to see that the school really puts premium on character. Character homework is another way, like, um, you make the students um, discuss this with your parents. An assignment that will um, need them to talk to their parents, to their siblings about a virtue, about their, ask your mom and dad who is their hero, who among the national heroes they consider to be most important to them, most relevant to them. And they have to interview their parents about that virtue, about that hero with the specific values and virtues. Creativity is key. You can come up with so many ideas on how to go about giving assignments, homework to the students related to virtues and values that will engage the parents and the family as well. Character conferences call on parents to come to school, not to talk about grades, not to talk about subjects, but to talk about how your son is doing as far as a virtue is concerned. How is your son, your daughter at home regarding his dealings with the siblings? Is there anything that we can help him or her in? Character conferences. Of course, I know many schools that do parent formation nights or parents forum, where a speaker is invited to talk to the parents how to develop grit, resilience, empathy among your kids. A teacher giving a talk to parents on how to, well, this is what we're doing in school regarding kindness. And these are things you can do at home related to kindness. Parent formation. So positive stories through text, through emails, through memos, through newsletters, stories of their sons, their daughters' good actions. Okay, think about it. If a student brought home your classroom's values, what would be in their backpack? Think about it, and you realize the backpack is empty. I never highlight any value. I don't talk about any virtue. I only talk about science and math and English and Filipino and social studies. I have a teacher who always makes it a point. Class, he would emphasize, I value honesty. Do not cheat. Do not even think about cheating. Study hard. Don't cram because you will not even think about cheating. Paulit-ulit like a broken record. Last, part four, people to school culture. If all teachers follow all those ideas we mentioned, you will create in a school a kind of culture that becomes like the DNA of your school. That there in your school, you value kindness so much, it has become a kindness zone. A school with strong character culture does not just teach values, it breathes them. So then, very quickly, we have a few minutes left. Top six habits to strengthen culture. Here's number one, have full character assemblies. An assembly of the whole school where somebody talks about this month, we will highlight this virtue, this value. Or make the student leaders lead the event where they will talk to the whole school about this month. This is the virtue of the month. Here are 10 tips, 10 ways that you can live the virtue. And then the student leaders are the ones who share because they're the ones who came up with a list. That's even more powerful. Here's another way, signage and symbolism. It's all over the campus. Pagpasok mo ng eskwelahan, alam mo, they value character. In Southridge, where I taught for 15 years, I mentioned to you earlier, I served there as principal of intermediate school. All over the place, you will see these virtues, even the way they name their classes, the friendly cobras. I don't know how cobras can be friendly, but anyway, that's the value they said in grade 2C. They want to highlight friendliness, goodness. Okay, make the students lead service projects. Let them be at the forefront of coming up with ideas on how to show values in action. Because small acts, when multiplied by millions of people, can transform the world. Here's another way, peer mentorship programs. You know, the older students serving as buddies, peer mentors of the younger kids. I mean, that's a mark of a great school when you have student leaders, I mean, the older students having concern for the younger ones. There's no bullying, there's no put down, there's no terrorizing. There is always collaboration, camaraderie, friendship, support, kindness. It becomes part of the culture of the school. Okay, let's end with a final reflection and a call to action. This week, or in the first month of the school year, when we begin the new school year, I will start a ripple by. And think of the so many things that we've tackled. Choose at least one, two, or three that you can start doing. Because when you teach character, you're not just forming kids, you're changing families, friendships, and futures. Okay, I am now going to type in the chat box the link for you to um, let me just first stop